Test 5, Part 1, Passage 1. Listen to a conversation between a student and her professor.
Professor Molina, I have a question I'd like to ask you.
Sure, no problem. Is it about something we went over in class?
No, actually, it's about the presentation for next week. I'm doing my report on Vincent van Gogh, and I haven't really started it because I'm not sure whether I should focus on his life or his paintings. I think both aspects are interesting. I just don't know which would make for a more relevant report.
Well, since we're studying painting techniques, you should definitely focus on his paintings. Think about what we've discussed in class over the past 4 weeks and apply that to your analysis of Van Gogh's paintings. Of course, his life may come into the picture.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't really want to give you too much information. I'm sure it's available somewhere. But there are certain aspects of Van Gogh's life that feature prominently in his paintings. For example, he probably suffered from some sort of mental disorder that may have influenced his manic painting style. But focus on the techniques he used to express these qualities of his personality.
Okay. Well, I was wondering if the references in the library will provide this information.
I think you'll find some very useful materials there. But you may have to do something extra to get additional information so that you can approach your report from an angle that takes Van Gogh's life into consideration.
You know, I'm planning to attend a post-impressionist exhibition. Maybe I'll be able to get something from there.
Before I forget, a seminar on Dutch artists is taking place on campus this coming Friday. I bet at least one of the presenters will talk about Van Gogh. Most people think he's French, but he actually has Dutch origins. You should attend it, but you'll have to sign up. It's first come, first served. I really do urge you to attend. I think you'll get the information you need.
Did you say this coming Friday? I don't think I can make it this Friday.
Why not?
I'm planning to see my advisor about studying in France. It's not possible for me to break the appointment.
France? Why do you want to study in France?
Oh, I'm minoring in art history, and I'm especially interested in French art, so I'm doing a study abroad program in Paris this summer. I'll be staying with a French family and taking French art history courses at a university there. Plus, it will be a great opportunity to visit museums and see some really famous French artwork up close. Anyway, I just need to meet with my advisor on Friday to finalize some of the details.
Wouldn't it be possible for you to reschedule your appointment with your advisor? After all, you won't be leaving for France till the summer. I think your Van Gogh presentation takes priority here, unless there's something you haven't told me.
Well, it's true that I'm not leaving for a while, but I have to meet with my advisor because we're having a conference call with an advisor at the university I'll attend in France. It's sort of like a miniature orientation that I need to complete before I get there.
Aha. Okay. My own feeling is you should attend that seminar and see your advisor at another time or even another day. Oh, wait a minute. You know, we're going to have a guest speaker in an upper-level course I teach on Thursday night. And actually, he's going to be speaking on post-impressionism. You're welcome to sit in our class for that presentation. It'll be relevant to your report. And, you could always ask him some questions when the class is over. Does that work?
Great. I really appreciate it. Yes, I'll definitely come to that. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer. Listen again to part of the conversation, then answer the question. Well, since we're studying painting techniques, you should definitely focus on his paintings. Think about what we've discussed in class over the past 4 weeks and apply that to your analysis of Van Gogh's paintings. Of course, his life may come into the picture.
What do you mean?
2. What does the professor mean when he says this? Of course, his life may come into the picture. Three. What can be inferred about some of Vincent van Gogh's paintings? Four. Why is the student unable to attend the seminar on Friday? Five. What does the professor suggest the student do?
Test 5, Part 1, Passage 3. Listen to part of a talk in an archaeology class.
Have you all done the readings I assigned on the Clovis culture? If you have, then you already know that the Clovis culture first appeared in the archaeological records of North America some 11,000 years ago. Up until about the 1980s, scientists had been saying that the Clovis were the first humans in the New World, that they were supposedly the ancestors of all the native peoples that inhabited North and South America before the Europeans found their way to the Americas and then, claimed to have discovered them. These Clovis were Asians that traveled to Alaska via the Bering Land Bridge, the land bridge that connected Siberia and Alaska. Well, it was really the seabed that was exposed when glaciers formed thousands of years ago and the ocean levels dropped. So the Asians made their way across the bridge to Alaska. And so what we want to discuss today is, were the Clovis actually the first inhabitants of the New World? Well, many scientists are now inclined to disagree, and we want to know why. But before we go into that, another why we need to ask is, why was the Clovis first theory, that's what it's called, why was this theory accepted when it first came out? Okay, the Clovis were called Clovis because a bunch of their tools and other artifacts were found near Clovis, New Mexico. Of course, these implements were discovered throughout the U.S. It's just that they were first discovered near Clovis. These tools were the oldest known implements found in the United States and parts of Central America and South America. If you'll look at this slide, the tools are bifacial or two-sided, and they were made of stone that was chipped or flaked. The stone was flaked off with a rock fragment. So, archaeologists found these points on sites where mammoths, mastodons, and extinct species of bison and horses had been killed for food. In fact, most of the points were found at kill sites. Well, the significance of there being such a great number of Clovis points, and the fact that they were the oldest, well, it seemed that the only conclusion that could be made was that the Clovis were the first people to the New World, and that has been the reasoning since about the 1950s. But since then, there have been a lot of artifacts and other materials discovered. Hold on. Radiocarbon dating was discovered in 1949. I won't explain how it works. Radiocarbon dating seemed to verify the Clovis as the first people to populate the Americas. And why not? Their artifacts were scattered all over the United States, Mexico, and the northern part of South America. But, and you need to take note of this, scientists found more artifacts outside of the areas where Clovis points had been found. And these tools weren't Clovis. And the amount of material they found was substantial. So, the new material was subjected to radiocarbon dating, and the scientists realized that, well, maybe they didn't have the whole picture. Maybe they had been a little too hasty in proclaiming the Clovis as first. Let's check out some of the materials they found. Okay, some materials were dated 11,000 years old, and a few were dated 50,000 years old. There was a human skull found in Brazil that was dated 11,000 years old. The Tiapacoya site in central Mexico. The site had bones, obsidian blades, and hearts dated 21,700 years ago. Some sites contained items that were dated from 12,000 to 14,000 years old. That's a 2,000-year period, which scientists consider far too long for the occupation of a single group of people. And even farther south, far southern South America, the Patagonia caves and rock shelters of the fell culture had horse and sloth remains and artifacts which were dated to about 11,000 years ago. So let me stop here and see if you've grasped the point I've been trying to make. Do you see why the scientists began to doubt that the Clovis were the first people? Well, we are a little slow today. Okay, here's why. The Clovis people crossed the Bering Strait some 11,000 years ago. It would have taken them anywhere from 700 to 1,000 years to reach the tip of South America. But, and here's my point, based on the age of the new materials found, people were already living in South America when the Clovis reached the New World via the Bering Land Bridge. Did you get that? So basically, what the new evidence is saying is that the first people settled in different areas in North and South America some 11,000 years ago. They didn't enter the New World just through the Bering Land Bridge. There may have been as many as 3 separate migrations. So the peopling of America did not transpire from a single event, which is what the Clovis first theory was saying. Scientists are now saying that it was a process. Different routes were taken. The migrating Asians traveled at different times and from different locations. Actually, scientists now aren't really sure when people first came to the Americas. They don't think 21,700 and 50,000 years ago is realistic. Their new estimate is 13,000 years ago. So bye-bye Clovis first theory based on this new evidence. There was other evidence that made Clovis first sound ridiculous, and that was linguistic evidence. A group of linguists studied the languages of the New World, and their initial conclusion was that the Clovis people spoke 143 languages and developed perhaps hundreds of cultures. Now, the languages were completely different from each other. So what's the implication here? Well, linguists say it takes about 6,000 years for 2 languages to split from a common ancestral tongue and to develop to the point where they have no resemblance to each other. This means that 143 unrelated languages expanding from a single mother tongue would take about 50,000 years. And what does this mean? If the Clovis arrived in the New World 11,000 years ago, there just wouldn't have been enough time for the ancestral tongue to have become differentiated, to the point where it would develop into 143 distinct languages. And even if there had been multiple migrations, as seems to be the case, an entry of 13,000 years ago just does not explain the multiplicity of languages. Well, obviously, more research is needed here.
Now get ready to answer questions. You may use your notes to help you answer. 12. What is the main topic of the lecture? (13) How did the Clovis people reach Alaska? (14) What does the professor say about Clovis points? (15) How does the professor emphasize the significance of the new materials found in South America? Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
So let me stop here and see if you've grasped the point I've been trying to make. Do you see why the scientists began to doubt that the Clovis were the first people? Well, we are a little slow today. Okay, here's why.
16. What does the professor imply when she says this?
Well, we are a little slow today.
(17) What is the linguistic evidence for the Clovis people not being the first to arrive in the New World?